go. It tells you to go.
Yes, we're live. Well, we're
Hey.
live for us. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another costume designer interview on the Costume Co channel. I'm Heidi, and today with me I have Ane Crabtree. I'm a huge fan of hers. I'm so delighted to have her back. I interviewed her a few years ago for another show that she did called The Changeling, which I was very, very sad was not renewed.
Me too.
At least I don't think it was. Is that correct? So, but we're here today to talk about another show, Scarpetta, which is like, an all-star cast. Woohoo!
Yes.
Um, but anyway, Anne, I follow Anne on Instagram, and she always has lots of interesting posts. We were talking about before we went live about her chickens and how she posts all kinds of really interesting things. So I would highly recommend you follow her there. I will put her link in the link below. But in the meantime, Anne, thank you so much for joining me today. I screwed up the time, but we managed to work it out.
People don't remember Nashville time. It's well, let's call it Central time. I've done it too. It's tricky. Why is it so tricky? But it is. It's okay.
I even said, hey, please convert this for me. Like, and then I got it wrong anyway. So I don't know how I did that. But anyway, I'm so glad we were able to make it work. And it looks like it's a beautiful day where you are, by the way.
So pretty. I don't know what you can see. I'm living in Nashville.
Yes.
Kind of a cute remodeled that there's a kid renting from. This kid is an amazing engineer and he has a 50s home, and underneath is kind of a really beautiful tiny home. I thought I would try it, and to be honest, I wanted to move here. Well, first of all, everything's new. That's rare when
Wow.
you move every 4 to 6 months. But
Hmm.
this amazing nerd engineer, so there's amazing places like storage and organization, which you never find, right, in a tiny space. But he has chickens. So
Oh, yeah. So, but you have all that lush greenery there too. So it's a beautiful view.
it's so beautiful and green. And the show actually takes place in Virginia. And I think it really looks like Virginia. It's
Hmm.
right now. We're shooting the show in warmer climes. And yeah, to me, it feels quite akin to Virginia. So
So, are you already working on season two? I have that at my end, but do you want to tell me a little bit about before we get into season one? Do you want to tell me?
I can't,
Uh, you can't tell me too much, but
but I've just left the incredible Jamie Lee Curtis, who asked me why I was dressed up today. And I told her because she's every day in my work clothes, in my boring work clothes. But no, we just shot with her, and it's always a pleasure. She is such a, listen, that woman has inspiration everywhere for everybody, but she loves women. And my truck person, who was also, I call her my niece, we're not related,
hmm.
had a 20-year relationship, and she's an amazing truck supervisor. So I asked her to come do the show. I still call her my niece. And she was just watching the two of us, and she said, it's so inspiring to work on a show where there's so many women in charge. I'm going to be 62 in July. Nicole is in her 50s. She just
Hmm.
going to have a birthday,
She's a
57.
year younger than me.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And Jamie turned 67, in the fall, late fall. And she was just watching us, and she goes, everything about this moment, I was just judging Jamie. And actually, we quickly changed her into a dress that we made late last week, because in my gut, always trust your gut, folks, costume folks out there. I had made a whole nother outfit for her for the scene today, and I can't say anything more. but
Yes, of course not.
but there was a dress from last season that I adored and she adored, and it just looks like it was second skin, like it's beautiful on her body, perfect for her body. So I was just like, let's make this dress. I have a weird feeling, and that's what she wore, and she just was like, don't even have to think about it, like it just goes on like a glove. So that dress, you will see season two. That's
Mhm.
all I say.
That
But
sounds like such an Edith Head thing to have, like, another dress in your back pocket.
you know what? That's amazing. Thing about Edith Head, honey.
Yeah. No, I
Her
just read this story about Betty Davis. I think that she had to have, she had to like, something screwed like, she went to set and it was just a disaster, and she had to basically kind of redo the dress
oh,
on the fly.
yeah,
Um, I
I
think it
will
was all about Eve.
about Eve. Come on.
Mhm.
Well, I will say I've done it once on Masters of Sex, and
Oh,
was a New York Times journalist there, and I was dressing another beautiful woman. Oh my God, this happens on every interview. She's 6 foot, Allison Janney. She's 6 foot tall, and maybe she's taller, to be honest. And you don't find vintage clothing in that height.
no.
So I had her in a dress for a scene, and I looked at the frame and I said, "It's all wrong. It's all wrong." We made her clothes anyway because she's a tall drink of water and beautiful. And I said, "I don't want to throw you, but I'm going to make you a new dress. We have half an hour." And the journalist followed the half an hour, came back, saw us cutting fast, sewing it together, and we made it to camera in half an hour. And it was kind of a big moment, but not that I torture the tailors, but it has to be right. It
Of
has,
course, yes.
and I had a gut feeling. And so for Jamie Lee Curtis, this morning we did the same. And then, of course, we make it easy, the dress. I make so many of the clothes on the show for that reason, because you can actually, Jamie just asked me the last time she was in town, why? Why do you not shop? Why do you make a lot of the clothes? And I said, it's all about controlling the frame,
Mhm.
not being able to paint anything any way. And I'll text Jamie photos of the ideas. I don't know if you remember, I make little movies ahead of time for every episode. And this year, I decided to do episodes 1 through 7 of all their closets for all of the leads and the visiting actors, artists, because it's a bit method, perhaps, but I'm not embarrassed about it. It's more, I want actors to come in, see all of their clothing in a proper closet, like a real person, not
Mhm.
a character. And so, yeah, so I did that. I planned 1 through 7. Of course, there are, yes, some Betty Davis second ideas, in there. But why am I saying that to you? Because she said, why? Why? And I said, I can paint the picture any way you want it. And so Saturday, I sent her a drawing of something again for season 2, which I cannot say further, but it's beautiful. And I did some crazy things, sleeve. And immediately she was going to work. She calls. Jamie will call you right away, which is amazing. Who
Well, and
communicates?
she's a producer on the show too, so for folks who don't know, right? So not just in the show.
Oh, no, no, no. She and
Yeah.
Nicole are sisters, and so is Patricia Cornwell.
Mhm.
Anyway, she immediately was like, "Girl, I need some sleeve cover up. I don't do no sleeves." And I was like, "No, no, no." She goes, "Can you please give me sleeves?" And I was like, "Consider it done. I will take care of you. We make the clothes. We can do anything you want, girl."
Yeah,
We did. So
that's
we,
amazing. I want to, but before we get into talking about this season,
yeah,
because when I had you originally, and I was so delighted to have you, we were talking about your other show, The Changeling,
yeah.
which, and by the way, so I'm watching this show, and I have this as in another question, but I'm watching all of your tartans and your plaids and your checks and your tweeds. And I was like, oh, this reminds me of The Changeling.
Funny.
Remember? Because you had that sort of, yeah, do you want to? It
It's
kind of
like,
felt like, a little bit of a memory of that show.
that's interesting. That is so interesting. Well, I will say that I do love, I don't just love classicism, but I love
Mhm.
well-made fabrics, and I love fabrics that look, perhaps, and it's going to be different for Scarpetta than it was the Changeling, but I love it when you can have a kind of visceral feeling about the fabric. There's so much fake fabric now, and there's a world for that as well, right? But in this story, in this timeline, it really suits my leads. Um, let's say for Nicole, because I'm my inspiration is like Cary Grant or a
Mhm.
beautiful, male lead in the fabrication. It's almost like men's suiting done as women's clothing, all for a reason, all because, not just because I like those fabrics, but similar because they're for the Changeling, it was about academia and literature and history. So there's a history. I guess I'm trying to, that's my segue. There's a history to window pane, checks and Tattersall shirtings for Simon Baker, and it's different for black skin. For a more of the leads were all black in the change
Mhm.
history.
Yes.
The great
Lakeith David. Yes.
Lakeith,
Yes.
Jamie, by the way. But you know, the history and the fashion's different, and that was
Mhm.
New York as a kind of celebration of the old Harlem um, roundtable of writers, right? And this is Old Virginia for Simon Baker. It's for Nicole Kidman's character. It's her father was an Italian immigrant who married an American woman. And of course, they live in Florida, but my mother is from another country, from Okinawa. And there's certain things, even if you're brought up in the South, as I was, in Kentucky, that immigrants don't let go of a kind of beautiful way of dressing. It's like the old country, really.
Mhm.
So, in essence, I'm dressing Nicole as Kay Scarpetta um, to mirror her immigrant father and his fine way of Italian dressing, but I'm giving her the feminism and the strength and liberation of the 70s from her mother's side, the American side. So that altogether equals, in my mind, Kay Scarpetta,
Mhm.
2006, 99. Yeah.
Now speaking of this, so I didn't know anything about the book series. There's like a long it's a very lengthy book series, and
Oh,
I gather it's based on a true like a real life character. So before you took on this job, like did you know anything about the book series? Did you know you were saying that Patricia is a as a producer? So was this your introduction to it, like taking on the show?
what's funny? I will be honest. I didn't. Okay, I didn't know about Kay Scarpetta. But I will say, and I just recently heard from this director, Milcho Manchevsky, who I worked with early on in my career in New York. And I said to him, hey, I remember being somewhere and reading a Patricia Cornwell novel, but I don't think it was Scarpetta. However, there were serial killers involved. So maybe it was. Scarpetta, I love serial killer stuff. So
Mhm.
that drew me in. But I didn't know the whole of the series. I mean, she is quite prolific. Patricia, it's incredible, really. I do tend to, well, not tend, I love uh, reading something that is well written. So between Patricia and Liz Sarnoff, by the way, incredible in her ability. She's like a ringmaster,
Oh wow. And she's the showrunner?
God, yes. And she's done such beautiful work before. She's quiet, and it's always the quiet ones, they say.
Oh,
Uh,
you have to watch out for.
but like, they're so creative and they're so
Mhm.
powerful and so intellectual. And she is that, Liz Sarnoff. I love her. I love Patricia as well. I got to meet her because she was in episode 1 of season 1.
Yeah, she does the swearing in. Is that correct of Kay? Yes, I read that in the I don't know, in the little show notes. That's
And
really fun. So, by the way, and this sort of makes me think all these wonderful female creative individuals that you've had such an honor, to work with. That must be incredible. I know like Nicole Kidman is a huge supporter of female, not just like cast, but just also people in leadership roles.
Oh
Right,
yeah,
like directors and producers and cinematographers, and I love seeing that this is changing. Because
she's
obviously you and I are not we're fairly close in age, but seeing that change, I love that happening
it's
where the
beautiful.
power has the power dynamic, let's say.
It's real. She
Mhm.
has an incredible, Nicole, respect for women, respect for artists. I find, you know, actually all of the actors on our show, we're really lucky. It's the thing I say to every new actor that comes in. I can't tell you who I was fitting today, but there's a new person, and I was like, you're going to have the best time of your life, and you're in such good hands. And it's like a beautiful welcoming party every time someone new comes to Scarpetta. With Nicole, she's done so much. I mean, this woman, her body of work as an artist is incredible. And she has so much energy. I mean, she works all the time. She's producing, which is brilliant, and she's quite smart. So is Jamie about, the shows or the projects she takes on, the women she hires. And yeah, I was going to say that she respects artists and their vision and their artistry. She really, for a woman so busy, I hope I can say this, and I don't think she'll be upset because everybody knows she works all the time. This poor woman, I made this kind of method idea about, okay, they're going to come in and they're going to try everything on when they come, save for the last episode, season 2, which I haven't read. So 7 episodes out of 8, I wanted to be ready for all the leads. And for Nicole, she's working all the time. She's always on a plane. This beautiful woman represents Chanel and others alongside of commercials and working as an actor. And still, I will say, she came in having never slept the night before, so prepared and so present. I don't know anybody else who would do this. Literally, she's been on another show in Texas, had been up all night with all dialogue. I mean, your brain is on fire after some dialogue, right? Consummate pro, shows up on time and is just open. I mean, she's so airy and so malleable and so respectful of the process for everyone that needs to see her. It's crazy.
Mhm.
And I said, don't worry, we're going to go 1 through 7. And I'm sure she was like, oh dear God, what have I done? But I said, don't worry, we're going to do it. It's going to be the fastest fitting you've ever done. Of course, it's easy when you make her clothes. I have her sizes. I know what's going to fit, what's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. There's always new scenarios with 7 scripts. We did it in 20 minutes.
That is
I
crazy.
swear to God, my old fashion styling.
That
That,
is absolutely she must have appreciated that so much because for those who don't know, fittings are draining.
they
They're
are.
exhausting.
Everybody, a lot of actors hate them. They're not Jamie.
Mhm.
She also is so respectful in terms of the time. It's some actors love them, some actors don't. But I feel like the most precious thing we none of us have is time.
Mhm.
Capturing the moment and being 100%, 1,000% ready to shoot all of that. And what's amazing about Nicole is that she knows fashion. She's around it all the time. And so if things aren't completely finished, I can still shoot it on her. It looks like Frankenstein with pins
Mhm.
and fabric
But she
together.
understands that.
Understands it. She understands it. And
Mhm.
what's beautiful, once we're shooting, she's done 10 million things in between the time that we've tried the fitting clothes and the time it is to shoot. But she's so present and so centered, I think. It's incredible. her, the only person that has been the same, and it's not really a real comparison, but Jennifer Lopez, who also
Oh.
does, she told me, she said, I just do the thing that's up next, even if it's like 5 minute increments. Is it a L'Oreal commercial? Is it this fitting? Is it? Also very present and
Mhm.
visible. With Nicole, she actually can almost, I shouldn't even say, I don't know. It's like magic. She can kind of blur what's happening, all the crazy that's happening in front of her. And we have minutes really before we go to camera. She's just there. She's 100% present. And I think most actors who have had a lot of experience, and those who feel safe, they're the best ones because they're razor sharp at any given moment. It's like having different lenses.
Mhm.
It really takes a lot to get there, I think. I've been really lucky with most actors, especially all actors on this show, but with Nicole, with Jamie, with everybody, Simon, Bobby, Ariana, it's a kind of person, it's a kind of character who can handle that load and
Mhm.
be 100% open and confident that you're going to take care of them. Not only take care of them, that's a separate issue as a human, but also really mix their human blood and own character with a written character and get it right and not waste anybody's time. That's really like we're working in tandem in faith that it's going to be perfect and we go right to camera. It's kind of amazing to see. And I don't think about it until we talk about it like this. So,
Yeah, I have a question for you. So, like, as I know you were saying, Patricia's a producer, she's the author.
oh, yeah.
Did did you read any of the books? And if you did you take any of her descriptions? Because does she like to describe the fashion? Because I understood that Kay is very fashionable in the books. Is that true?
Yeah. So here's my dilemma. I love reading. I've always loved reading. And it's like a weird Achilles heel. Like when you work in film and TV, you always want to start with the nucleus or the genesis or the seed of how something began, right? Because out of respect for the author, this artist who thought of this story, these stories, I want to get into that person's head. Every novel that begins before a script, I want to read that first. But then it gets quite confusing because so many timelines. There's episodes that I think it was 7 that's not in the book. There are diehard fans who might slaughter me because I don't remember everything I've read, but I know that. So,
Well, and I understand it's 2 books, like, at least for season 1, right? They're kind of in parallel with one another. So, an early book about a young Kay and then a quite a later book.
yeah.
So, that must be I was gonna tell you, so Carlos Rosario, I believe you know him. He did Shogun. Um, I love him, and I've had him on the show a few times. He was telling me he did a show one time, and he read the book, and it screwed him up. I think it was
It
the girl with the spider tattoo or one of those
so
ones.
happens.
And so he says he usually tries not to read the source material as a result of that. Have you had that sort of issue at all?
Yeah, I have to stop myself at a certain point. So it generally, I'm such a creature of habit. It generally goes like this. I get a job, there's a book. Generally speaking, there's a novel that's already been made. And before I get the script, I really want to pack it into my memory because what happens, there's so many other elements once we start shooting that I have to think about that I have more time before the job starts. And then I transition to books on Audible because I can drive from Pennsylvania to Tennessee and really listen to, in this case, Patricia's words. But then, you get so enamored of a story and the way that it's framed in a book, which has to be different on film. And I know there are people who would argue with me about that. Um, But for me, I have to slowly take focus off of the novel, or else you can't memorize, especially if you're doing two episodes at once.
Hmm.
Different directors, different actors. You know, we at costume people have to memorize every actor's trajectory through the season. That's a hard one. I mean, that's why we have assistant designers and costume supervisors and set people. But at its very center, we have to know the whole of their journey through
Hmm.
that season. And what happens for me, and maybe for my brother Carlos, is you start to memorize the wrong things. If they're
Ah.
not written in a seamless, and how could they
Hmm.
be in two artists writing separately, right? One for TV and film, and one that is all the imagination from the verbiage, from the literature, in another human being's mind that just reads the book. And so I have to let go of that other. I don't let it go all the way.
Hmm.
Like what I did last season. Once I was done for the bulk of the design stuff, there's always surprises that come up with ancillary characters. I did start listening to Scarpetta again on Audible as I drove around Nashville because I wanted to fall back in to how that person thought when they were driving. She does a lot of driving, and I tried to picture myself in Virginia in the voices that were used, for Audible. Um, yeah, it's like a dance, really, or like music that you adore, and you come back to it
Hmm.
to enhance your work, really, the source material. But for me, and I guess for Carlos, there's so much happening that you have to kind of go with the scripts that are given so that you don't mess up, obviously. And Liz is phenomenal at connecting these webs that happen individually around a character, but also all together for a season. I mean, it's so dang hard. I don't even know what's up there in her brain. It must be.
Yeah. So then when you were doing this, so were your main places you began with were the script and your conversations with Liz? Is that sort of where you began, or who else sort of, I mean, and obviously in the fittings, I'm assuming like, like Jamie Lee Curtis or Bobby or some of the cast, they would inform, during the fittings. Like, do you want to tell me a little bit about your process and how you sort of
It's,
curated these characters, their looks?
it's always abstract to talk about, really.
I know.
Funny.
Doesn't necessarily happen in order either, right? Sometimes things happen out of order.
You know, like I said, I've done this for like 38 years, and there's certain things that I do all the time, all the same when I
Mhm.
approach. And I even try to empty my brain out of respect for the new art form. To me, it's an art form. Um, I try to let go of everything so that I'm fresh when I approach things. And honestly, my joke is always the question, how do we do this? Like, how do we get started? But because there's always a bit of a, for me, a bit of a glitch, and it's really the artist telling the self, you're fraudulent. Like, what the hell do you know? And how are you going to have a different spin? And so it's really like creating hurdles for yourself so that you don't have ego when you walk into the creative process. And that's really hard. All I can say is for the changeling, if this makes any sense, I try to find music, and I was trying to remember what I was listening to for Scarpetta. But for the changeling, I literally was walking around Manhattan listening to whale songs.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yes, and because of the mythology, the fables that were written within.
Yes.
For Scarpetta, there's so many things at play. There is the serial killer story. There is the beautiful heroine of a medical examiner who wants to respect and understand the dead. and solve their crimes so that they can rest easy and in peace. That's a real thing. And then there is this beautiful, complicated, messy, discordant, the familial ties and the webs that happen within the family. And so there are three different things. Sometimes, to be honest, this is hilarious because I get lazy or I can't focus. And so I reach back into music that has helped me prior. Actually, I do have something new. It's not new, but it's something I don't think I've said before. I often listen to the music of Interstellar because
Oh, really?
beautiful, and it opens my mind immediately.
Who did the score for that?
Do, 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 do. I don't know, and I've looked it up because it is so enthralling. It hits all
Mhm.
the emotional notes for me, and generally speaking, I like to listen to music with no words, um, because, and I think may have said this before, but I used to have these, mental blocks on Handmaid's Tale. Certainly between season one and season two, I was like, how the hell do I go now to a place where it hasn't been written by Margaret Atwood, Bruce Miller, and it was, the second season. And so
Yeah,
I
so when they run out of, material in the books, they have to start to,
it
come up with expand the story, expand the universe.
so I listened to, and it became the song that I played for all of the handmaids, the leads, um, for season two, and it was This Bitter Earth. But it was a mashup. Oddly, the first song for The Handmaid's Tale, it's because of Lizzie Moss, had the Crabtree remix. I thought it was something that she made for me, but
That's hilarious.
it was hilarious. And I told her finally it was a remix of Debbie Harry.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's an English DJ. He wrote to
Yeah.
me, "Hey, I'm a Crabtree too." Blah blah blah. So for Scarpetta, it started with Interstellar, and then, believe it or not, this is kind of crazy, but I love Yo-Yo Ma. Did I
Oh,
ever?
yes, absolutely.
So there's an incredible. I make all PAs listen to this because it's so mind expanding to listen. I love Fresh Air,
Winehouse?
and I also love her too. Uh,
Okay.
Fresh Air on NPR.
Oh, okay.
So Fresh Air, Amy, oh man, I can't remember, on NPR interviewed Yo-Yo Ma on how water affects the way he plays, and the way that and this is helpful when you do something the same as a career for 38 years. It's like, how do I make the approach different? How do I stay fresh so that everything is like eating an apple for the first time, visually, for
Mhm.
people watching? How do you make the character? And so with Nicole, what's so interesting, and I can't tell you who a new actor is who I am so enamored of because she's so brilliant, who plays their mother, season two. They both have a similar chameleon effect, and that is like a lizard. Like those chameleons, they can take on the color of anything they're touching. Nicole is that person.
Mhm.
And so is Rosie McEwen, who plays her in 99, Kay Scarpetta. I don't know what it is. It might be that they have this skin that's the color of a canvas. And so the strangest thing happens with the two of them. They take on the color. And so they can wear these really odd colors that I call ugly colors. And Nicole has a combination of those in season two, and only she could wear them, and or a black woman, if that tells you anything about
Mhm.
the person I'm talking about.
Yeah, by the way, I loved Rosie in The Alienist. She was I don't know if you ever got to see that, but she was riveting in that. But also, the casting on this is just crazy, like, how close they are. And by the way, everyone is British in this show or something, or Australian or
Are they? Oh,
well, I
there's a
think,
Yeah.
Simon Baker is, I believe he's Australian, is he?
Was a
And of
friend of
course, Nicole.
years. They're like brother and sister. So
Yes.
I didn't see that coming, but I should have. Certainly.
Yeah. But well, and also I didn't know about Bobby and his son was playing the younger version of him, which because I was like, oh, that's such good casting, Then when I saw, I looked at the credits.
It's the casting is incredible. Like
Mhm.
it's amazing what they're doing, and I love that because people say it all the time. Um, it's such a rare gem to be able to meet these people as children in 78,
Yeah.
9, and then I can't tell you, but we have other timelines this season.
Yeah, but this current season, like, I guess it's pretty much now, I'm assuming, like, in season 1, it feels like 24, 25, 26, maybe, like, it's now. And
Now,
then we have the 90s, and then we have the further flashbacks of when they're children. And I can't even imagine. Like, I have this as one of my questions, like, how challenging that must have been to track. Like, my brain wouldn't have been able to, I'd have to have some software spreadsheets or something to be able to keep everything together. So how did your team
well,
were they able to do that?
supervisor and assistant designer
Mhm.
who keep track of all of that. I'm lucky, I don't do well with like a perfect grid system. My mind has to be more free than that, but I can visualize who they are thanks to these actors between 78, which is the earliest time, to 2026, um, because not only do they look like the same person and they're having a similar or same journey, but I'm also weaving together colors, pattern, textures that mirror and mimic each other, because do we really ever change is the question, has always been the
It's
question.
so true. It's so true. I'm a cliche like that, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people are.
I believe that we all have a uniform, and it's the most comfortable thing for you,
Yeah.
and rarely do you stray. Of course, if you're getting dressed for something like this, but it's like I don't really stray, and I've worn like incredible fashion. Back in the day, I used to spend all my money on it, but still wear the overalls, right? And to me, I'm always looking for that authenticity or that integrity of character of what has changed beyond time and what have they consistently reached for. And so for Scarpetta, it's like she she has a memory, a sense memory, because her father died when she was 12, of her parents in that store. It's every immigrant's good story of the kid
Mhm.
who was smart, who saw these two people, in Miami, in a place where other immigrants came to buy their food and their market stuff from the market. And I don't know. I think things are indelible. Like they go into the mind and the brain, and then you become that person. You become your parents, whether you want to or not. And so for her, she's very practical, even as a kid. And this season, I've even gone further in terms of mirroring the sameness, the same journey between all of these eras. And if you look at it, if you were to dissect the show and take away even words, if it was a silent movie with just one character, you would see that timeline that not much has pulled away from the character unless it's something in the story, unless something, cataclysmic happens and changes the trajectory of their visual journey. I mean, I only do the visual journey, right? So, but yeah, it isn't hard. It isn't hard. I will say it's quite interesting to have a season 2 and know these characters more. That's really kind of cool and calming in a way as a starting process. It's already like you know how to make the best cup of coffee, And so, what are you going to do different to make it just as enjoyable as the first time you've ever had coffee?
Yeah, one of the things I noticed is that, like, the silhouette you have on Kay, like, for instance, like, just looking at here, you always sort of do, like, a pant, a waistcoat, a blouse of some kind, but it's very functional, like, she can work in it, but here, same idea, here you have, you always have some kind of blouse, but you always have, like, a vest on her of some kind.
Yeah.
It's sort of like her uniform, and again, like you were talking about, right? About how
Mm.
you have your uniform. So that's sort of her uniform. In fact, there's a few scenes where young Kay, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's not putting on a lab coat or anything. She's just like right in there with her clothes, right? She's like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like no apron. Like, whereas later, you see the later Scarpetta always has some kind of like, head covering,
Oh,
gown and that type of thing.
she does. Rosie does have a version. It's in a different color, and it's as the '90s were more.
I think she did. I just remembered there was a few times she just like, "There's no time. I gotta just get right in there."
Yes, yes. When she is looking at the body, if she's not operating, she doesn't have all of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vest. I don't even know how I thought of it, but I think it really came down to I always
Here's another one here.
dating men in a three-piece suit,
Yes.
and but in an effortless way, not like the suit is wearing the man. And so the very first thing Liz told me when I said, "What's the approach? Like what would be your best dream?" Because Liz read the books with her mother. Jamie Lee has been with the show for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. So has Liz. And Nicole, even longer, wanted to be doing the show. And so I didn't want to mess up their expectation of how things should look, just like the people who read the novels. However, I thought, wouldn't it be beautiful as that analogy, as the overalls, if a three-piece suit wasn't a three-piece suit? It just is a uniform. It's like as soft and as easy and as rumpled as overalls. It's not precious. And it's like, what's his name? Um, is it Gregory Peck? Running toward the camera in that
Mhm.
film, and there's a plane overhead. That suit is just like jogging clothes. It's so effortless. And I really wanted that. I always want the reality of clothing as if we're actually filming a documentary. And like, again, these are their real clothes. These are not characters. These are human beings in their real clothes, in their vocations and or their lives. Because I hate it when I watch something and I was like, that doesn't really suit that person. You can tell by the way they're holding their body. And so, even if
Yes.
a three-piece suit for Nicole, she may never wear all the pieces, but I'm going to keep the wrinkles in. In fact, I tell the set costumers, do not take any wrinkles out because this
Yeah.
woman in her clothes. And if something is complicated, like those collars were sort of higher because she was concealing something. There were secrets in season 1, and I wanted her. Oops, sorry. I wanted her to be in a kind of neck concealing tie because the neck is such a place of vulnerability. And certainly Nicole has this beautiful long neck, but I didn't want her to be in a bow blouse because that's too feminine and indicative now, unfortunately, of the pussy bow people were calling.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's almost like a four-in hand tie, sort of what you have here.
Yeah, I wanted to do my own thing
Yeah.
that didn't feel like a proper tie, but like, why can't a woman be in a tie? Why can't she in a three-piece suit? You know what I mean? Especially if she lives in that and has had to fight for that type of job, a woman as a head medical examiner in Virginia.
Yeah, she's basically constantly coming up against this wall of patriarchy. She's like constantly battling that. By the way, I was going to tell you, Anne, and I'm sure this you did this too. When I was in the 80s, I wore ties like all the time. I wore bow ties, I wore neckties, I wore everything like that. I loved haberdashery, I think we used to call it.
100%. We did it
And I
all.
wore a lot of tweed. My sister used to sew, so she used to make a lot of stuff out of tweed
Yeah.
and herringbone and stuff like that. So I used to wear a lot of little suits
I
with my
just
ties.
I've been clearing out my mother's house, and my little brother, thank God, I left when I was so young, and I was like, "Goodbye, I'm never coming back." Of course, didn't know that I would be living with my mother to help her for 2 years. But thank God he handed me just a few weeks ago all of these scrapbooks and photo books that you have with all your friends. Girl, there were so many ties. I was howling and vests.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it,
and vests, absolutely, yeah. Broke like, we used to wear a lot of, like, what are they called? Like, tapestry vests, I think we call them.
totally, but also
Tie bars.
two things. You know, we are children who grew up in the 70s and we saw feminism at its best. All of these beautiful, iconic women. Not and I also said this, even though it was a sitcom, I think about Kay Scarpetta's mother having to raise two daughters, right? One a teenager and one up and coming, like almost a teenager,
Yeah.
on her in the 70s in Florida, in Miami. After her husband's died, she has to still have this market going. And for me, one of the shows was, I always forget her last name, Bonnie something from One Day at a Time. She was,
Oh, yes, Bonnie. I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, it was funny because I remember there was an episode where she was turning 35 and she said, "Oh my god, I'm middle-aged."
well,
Because I guess the life expectancy for a woman at that time was 70.
I mean, what's crazy, Okinawans, I don't know age. And I remember being a kid in Kentucky and always hearing middle age. And I finally said to my grandmother, "Are you middle aged?" And she was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, you." But no, Bonnie Franklin, is that her
Bonnie,
name?
yes, I think so, Bonnie Franklin, yes. Because I know Mackenzie Phillips was in it. She played one of the daughters and Valerie Bertinelli.
Oh,
And she was a working mom, right? She was a working mom.
so I tried to throw, without shoving it down your throat, a bit of feminism into the
Sure.
club for Scarpetta. And actually, I found this amazing photo that I must make into a T-shirt for the crew, but I would love to do it also somehow get it in the show. But it's a photo of Patricia Cornwell and uh Marcia. No, it's an Italian name who was kind of a mentor for her. They worked together, and she asked her all of these questions because she was a medical examiner, female in charge, and it became Scarpetta. Okay.
Yeah, her last name was Farinelli, I believe, because I read about it. Is that correct?
It's an M, Farinelli.
Yeah.
Yes. And photo is of,
Maria, I think. Let
what
me
is
look
it?
it up.
Okay. The photo is of the two of them smoking stogies together. Like that. Like, when I laugh, Bayo comes, which is not good because I laugh all the time. Yeah. Yeah. It was the two of them smoking cigars, and it was so beautiful. Like women didn't often
Yeah. We used
smoke.
to do those too, like Colts. Do you remember the ones that were wine tipped? My friends and I used to smoke.
No, 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 something else in Canada, maybe.
Maybe they were kind of like a cigarello, and they
Oh,
had a tip. Yeah, we used to call them stogies. We used to just like, we'd have a cocktail and you'd have one of those. And we thought we were like the big cheese or something for smoking those.
totally. I went through some moments in art galleries in New York smoking cigars, and then I realized I really hated the taste.
No, that's why I think they were wine tipped. They used to wine tip them so that women would want to smoke them, which is, terrible. It was like marketing, trying to get, it's like vaping, they add flavors. It's sort of that idea. So, or menthol, menthol cigarettes, but that's so funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask you regarding Kay, like the older Kay, like so because Nicole has this ambassadorship that she does with Chanel.
Oh, yeah.
Did she want to include any Chanel, or was she so totally like, no, no, we don't need to, no?
I love Chanel. Like it does. It's a mainstay for me. It's a what is it? It's a hang. It's a
A go-to?
well. I do own like two Chanel jackets that I take everywhere because you can be in overalls and throw Chanel over that, and nobody will
Oh, yeah.
mention anything. No, but I love classic things that don't change. And Chanel, Gabrielle Chanel designed those pieces originally for the working woman with pockets, with pants. You know, she was really groundbreaking. And I love that thought process of this piece being so versatile that you don't have to change. You can be okay anywhere, right? That's another great immigrant story. And so I thought about it for Nicole, but and I don't know if that happened before or after we started, but in a weird way, there are some looks, and I won't say for who, in that vein. Well, actually, I will say two people have that kind of look from season one, and one is Dorothy.
Mhm.
I made her a Chanel-esque jacket from. You laughed last time I said this at the Joanne's of Toronto.
Oh, yes, Joanne's.
The real Joanne's of Tennessee. I made
Yes.
a jacket.
We
Uh,
have Fabricland here. Is that where that's the Joanne's of Canada? Fabricland?
Joanne's is gone. Like
Oh, that's too bad. That I know everyone used to go there. All the cosplayers were going there.
it's important, for me to use good fabrics in the show, in any show, because fabric's leaving us. Like it's turning into all polyester all the time. And so these are these are iconic moments on film that will hopefully be around forever. And it's how clothing should look, like real tactile pieces. So I did make because Dorothy has money, right? She's made her own money, and she's a children's book writer and has jewelry and all the accoutrements. And so I made her a Chanel jacket, and also Chanel-esque. Lucy has the most money, Ariana
Yeah, I
DeBose.
was gonna say this little jacket here kind of looks a bit Chanel.
It's like the young Chanel,
Yeah, the
right?
hip Chanel.
So fabric from
You can wear it with jeans.
yes,
It's very you can put it over something like you say you could put it over overalls.
Ariana is a beautiful another. Everybody's beautiful to dress.
Mhm.
Ariana is a dancer. She moves in a certain way. She's got the most money on the show. I love this photo of the house because I really utilize the wallpaper, the glassware, the colors of this beautiful mansion that we shot in last year.
Yeah, lots of wallpaper.
Oh my God.
I was actually kind of shocked at how much wallpaper was in the show, which I love wallpaper, by the way.
Thank you.
But
That house is amazing. So Tammy Wynette, okay, the great Tammy
mhm.
was married to George Jones, and they had many homes, many, but they lived there.
In
In
this house, the one that they shot in?
I was
Oh,
so
that's
and they
crazy.
did.
Stand
There's
by your man, Tammy Wynette.
oh and
Yeah, oh
DIVOR
yeah, that's right. Then there's DIVORC.
beautiful home. It's
Here's the
such
kitchen. The kitchen is amazing. There's that beautiful wallpaper again up in the top right corner.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much that happens within the family in that kitchen. It
Mhm.
really. Oh yeah, yeah. No, I don't think so. No talking, please.
Yeah, and I don't think they did too much of this, but it's interesting. Like, so Scarpetta, she loves to cook, though, right? She's a big, and there's a picture of her here in the pantry, which, by the way, this pantry as well.
I love that, and
Yeah,
it's so beautiful. Like Nicole, these are those strange colors I'm talking
I
about.
love those colors.
I do too. And even Simon, it's funny. I was laughing with him this season. He came in for a fitting. I'm sure this it won't shock you. We had a 2-hour fitting where we only tried on clothes for 20 minutes, and we just talked about life.
I
The
love
other,
that.
but I was saying, Simon, you always come in like pink pants, or like these are
I
so
know, and he always wears really cool glasses. Like I've seen some of his, he always has really funky glasses. So he's into color then, and then you had to sort of uh, cool him down a bit.
I mean, he's, let's be real. He's a guy, he's a mastermind for the FBI.
Hmm.
He's had this very interesting, complicated childhood, right? Where season one, we see that his mother really left this indelible question mark on his life from when he was super little. I don't know if you saw the little boy who was buttoning up his shirts from the bottom up.
Yes.
Well, what I did for Simon, who, by the way, loves fittings, loves the pro.
Oh, he does. Oh, that's so fun.
Never seen The Mentalist, but he was like, "Man, this is it. Like this helps me." And
Speaking of that, in The Mentalist, he essentially wore a uniform. Like he essentially wore the same. They probably had multiples, but I think he was just always in the same single-breasted, very slim-fitting suit.
okay, okay. So
Hmm.
sometimes I don't watch stuff because I don't want to be led
No,
down
I
a
don't blame
wrong.
you. That's by the way, speaking of that, I never read before I interview a costume designer, I never read any other interviews they do.
Oh, that's
I
good.
want to come to it just sort of fresh, you know? And if I
Yeah,
happen to stumble upon something that was right or whatever, then great. But I'd rather not have it be distort my sort of, I like to have it sort of come from my own sort of viewpoint.
it's fresh.
Yeah, it's
It's
fresh then. Exactly. So I totally understand why you wouldn't do that.
and you were kind enough to send questions, but I didn't read them because
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I've totally gone off script anyway.
yeah, I'm very free flow. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's essential to be pure about what you're saying. Anyway, with Simon, he kept. I had a drawing of Giacometti. I swear to God, it was a drawing of him. Not his sculptures on my wall, season one, and he was like, "There it is. There's the collar I want." And I
Oh,
was
he knew like the collar that he wanted. Are you talking about on his shirt collars?
all of his shirts, yes,
Yeah.
shirts, because he wanted this elongated collar that they don't
Mhm.
make in life. It's just slightly longer,
Yep.
and I knew that I wanted
I don't
really good
either.
that were Tattersall mostly so that he would feel boxed in all the time.
Yeah.
And quite proper, right? He's one of the few people who is really from the South. He's really from Virginia in the story. And that kind of beautiful Southern Gothic gentleman that happened, uh, being from this place, I wanted that in his DNA. And so we made his shirts. And it's funny because they're just slightly long and they tend to tilt up a little. And I was like, let's do it. I don't want perfection. I want somebody who has been brought up to be encased in this proper shirt that is so structured, all boxed in. And it's not a sentence, it's not a prison uniform. It's more of a holding the energy intact that's proper.
Mhm.
And he has inner demons. So these demons are pointing upwards sometimes. They're like trying to escape the shell of a shirt.
Yeah,
And
and also us as an audience, we're unsure. Like we're like, there's some red herrings, right? So we're like, wait a second.
oh, true, there
The
are.
the fingers are he's got this like shipping container in his backyard, which is really weird. He's got this, you know, tub chair or something in the basement that he likes to go to. So you're like, okay, this something's completely off about this guy, right? But at the same time, like you say, he's like a Southern gentleman. He feels like old money, like a little, compared to maybe Scarpetta and her, oh, especially her sister,
And
by the way.
the house, like that is old
Oh,
money.
that's old money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Kate sort of feels like she fits into that world a bit better, whereas Dorothy like just seems like
Yeah,
she's
she
just
has her own, you know,
yeah.
Dorothy.
And she's like one of the things I love about her, by the way, is she's never matchy matchy like this outfit here. She
Yeah,
doesn't do the matchy matchy, whereas Kate it tends to be more matchy matchy, I think.
yeah.
So, by the way, the fittings with Jamie Lee Curtis must have just been a blast. Did you guys have fun doing those?
Here's what's so it's never what you expect, right? You
Yeah.
would that perhaps Dorothy, or AKA Jamie Lee's, would be raucous and crazy. But what's interesting is she really doesn't like fittings. And what I
Oh, okay.
and what I love about Jamie, she's so complicated and she's so smart and she's so honest, which I always want. And she was like, "Girl, I hate the process." And I was like, "We can make it not crazy for you. Like we can be fast and things can fit, especially if we make the clothes, right?"
Mhm.
And
Like this, by the way, this dress here. This looks like something I know it's for the wedding, but it looks like something you could wear to the Oscars. Actually, it's a pantsuit, I think, is it?
what is it?
Is
It's a,
it is it pants? Is it trousers and a blouse, or is it
it's
a gown?
a jumpsuit because she has
Yes,
to do this crazy dance.
that's
Uh,
right.
drunk. Uh, Nicole's is a dress that we made and jacket that she loses
Mhm.
whenever she gets rid of when they're dancing. Now we made everything for the wedding, um, just because I didn't want it to look like everybody else's wedding. We did, hot fuchsia. The colors for the wedding were green and blushy pink. Of course, Dorothy wears the craziest pink and pulls the light a little bit
Mhm.
because of it. But no, we made it all.
Well,
Except
she's mother of the bride, she wants to, she wants it's sort of her day in a way.
I want to say about again.
What by the way, I was gonna say that they're sort of in complementary colors. I love the two colors together here.
They look beautiful. Someone took a shot of them, a photo of them, the two of them with Ariana. And it was just like camera, they were talking in between. And I was like, they do look like a family. Like it's such an
Mhm.
combination on paper. But when you see them together, there is this connective tissue that's unsaid. And I believe, looking at that photo, even after shooting with them, that they are a family. Um, but the thing I want to say about Jamie is this: she is so, I don't know, she is such a beautiful human that she gives everything, even in moments where she doesn't want to be there, like a fitting, because her process, she's so brilliant, her mind, she really wants to just turn into that character. Come, she's the only one who does this. She's always early. You can text Jamie in the middle of the night, and that lady will answer you. 3 in the morning, she's going to answer right back. And I'm talking, I could be here and she could be in LA time. So it's really early.
Wow.
And she said something like that, like being a mother, the only time you have available, probably creatively or for self or meditation, is in the early wee hours of the morning to get things done when the
Mhm.
sleep or life is quiet. And so I love that about her. But the thing about Jamie is this: she feeds your brain. She's given me so many beautiful, rare books on the body farm in Tennessee, where, yeah, we use it as research. She gave me that last year. She gives me brilliant novels. She's given me, you know, Patricia Cornwell's books from before. She feeds your brain as an artist. She really respects that process. She's so many different people, Jamie. She's raucously funny. She is sublimely respectful of every crew member. We wear name tags so that she gets to know.
Oh, I've heard that story about her. Yes. I would actually love that because, I am terrible with names, and I recently went to a big event, and there were, like, 400 people there, and they didn't have name tags, and I'm like, "This is death for me."
It is
Uh,
hard.
yeah, it's so hard. Like, how many crew are there on a show like this?
I don't know. It's always it's a million. It's so many.
Mhm. Do they do, like, the "Hello, my name is"? Is it that type of thing? That's so fun.
The
And you
thing,
just fill in your name with a Sharpie?
yeah, we just know when Jamie's around, everybody has to wear a name
That's
tag,
so fun.
and because it's out of respect for every man, literally, like whoever's doing that their own job. And so
Mhm.
I love that about her, but also what I love is that she's such an artist and she always morphs into her characters, and they're always more wildly different than the one she's played before, right? So when she comes, she's always early. I'm always early, and she beats me sometimes to get there. And she wants to dress head to toe, wig, glasses. None of that is Jamie as Dorothy.
Yeah.
Uh, Everything head to toe with the jewelry, even when she goes to hair makeup. So that even when she goes for rehearsal, she is already Dorothy. That's amazing. I'm
Hmm.
talking all of it because you fall into that person, that persona for the day. That's your job. But she respects everybody's time, creative process, the time. She wants to give it all. She doesn't even go back to her trailer. I hope it's okay to say this. She stays as Dorothy on set, which is a working actor. She's so
Yeah.
proudly a working person. And
Well, I've heard this from a lot of actors who say that the costumes and like the wigs and the makeup and the jewelry and everything that really does a lot of the work for them. So so if again, like if she's walking by a mirror, she's seeing her character. She's
yeah,
not necessarily seeing herself.
yeah.
And then so it's going to be, I mean, I'm sure between takes she can maybe fall in a little bit to being Jamie Lee Curtis or what have you.
You know,
Um
she's so busy. I mean, the thing that she can get done in a day as herself and still be this character, which isn't so not like her real persona, is amazing. But her heart, I want to speak on because her heart is so large that she can talk to one of my crew members about their day. And yeah, I'm so lucky. This is one of those golden moments, I believe, in my career that I'm working with astounding actors with such immeasurable talent. Amazing writer, Liz and Patricia.
mhm.
Great director.
By the way, did Patricia write like, did she write the screenplay or sorry, did she write the scripts as well as writing the original story, or is it all Liz?
Was chosen, and she was a fan. She had read the books with her mom, which is beautiful that you get someone like that. Nope, it's Liz, honey.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I have I one of the questions I did have that I know you didn't read, and I did touch on this a little bit,
yeah,
is the connection between the characters in the earlier, like in the 90s, for instance,
yeah.
versus the characters later. And I was mentioning, I guess we sort of touched on a little bit, but how I noticed some similarities. So, and then also even the younger ones. So are we were there some through lines that you came up with? And how did you sort of link the past and the present? Was there anything that you did specifically to try and and maybe visually link them for us as an audience, maybe even if it wasn't realistic? Does that
I,
make sense?
sure. I feel like I'm doing that even more this year because I
Mhm.
see that it's helpful. That people can just flow with all the mixing of timelines.
I was surprised that, like, because I'm usually terrible with this type of thing. I was surprised that I was able to follow along
Uh,
with it. And there was so much going back and forth. So I was actually pretty like that's why I was saying the K, like for instance, I picked up right away on the plaids. Like I was just like, oh yeah, or that that she's wearing that type of uniform. So
yeah. So with the cake, I feel like it's not easy, but there is a symbiosis between their uniforms, and often it's window pane plaids, and that's kind of this openness to the character, or like a window right into their soul. It's like yes, they're in pieces of a three-piece suit, but they are open. The squares are open, and I think that way. But I'm also designing to the period that the script literally is saying. But am I doing ripples of memories that tie the characters together? 1,000%. Because I want you to understand that character fully, not just in 78, not just in the 80s, not just in 1990, not just in 2000, 1999. not just in 2026, but also with all of the celebrations and downfalls that happen within their story. I want you to feel it. And I want you to be reminded of who they were at 12 when they lost their father. And how does that resonate when they're standing in front of the love of their life? Simon with Nicole, or Kay and Benton. How does that resonate? How does it sound the same visually?
Hmm.
How does it echo? And that's really important to me as a nonverbal storyteller.
Yeah. It feels like a generational trauma in some ways. Like, a lot of these things have not been really dealt with. They've been sort of, she's thrown herself into her work or what happened, have you. But yeah, it feels like, um, I almost hurt for the younger versions of them,
Yeah,
for these adults that we meet. And then we hurt for their younger selves, and also Bobby as well.
he saw
And
his.
and yeah, and Simon, for all
Yeah,
of them. Like, what happened to Simon? Like, or sorry, his character. Sorry,
his
um,
mother. It reminds me of a few people that I've met in my lifetime
sorry,
who
Benton.
um, were therapists in some way, whether psychotherapists, psychologists, or otherwise. And sometimes they suffer the most, right? Because there's such critical thinking that sometimes they aren't free as children.
Mhm.
My take on things. One thing I meant to say that early on Liz said to me, which has resonated through season one and certainly season two, is she said, the women are the men and the men are the women in our series. And it
Mhm.
be, closer than that to the truth and the nucleus of how I'm designing. And so sometimes, and I said this to Simon, and he immediately got it. Like I said, your anima is showing. Your feminine version of yourself shows, and I like that as a real Southerner, and as someone who is knitting together those Southern Gothic shadows of men into the DNA of your clothing. I like to show that gentility, that femininity of manners and dressing for show, even when you feel
Mhm.
like shit, you
Yeah,
know?
I just noticed actually in this picture, I hadn't noticed it before. He's got like almost a blush pink shirt
You know,
here.
yeah, we made it a tiny bit pink because we didn't want to put him in a pink shirt for the
He looks
wedding.
so good in it though.
Because, and that is such a color of the American South. I
Mhm.
I probably should do my homework and understand why, but I grew up seeing men, the manliest of men, whatever, of that time, who wore pink, wore
Mhm.
pink, green, olive green suit, in the 80s,
I
70s.
guess maybe because it's hot, like, so they were wear, like, lighter colors.
Yeah, but why pink? So
I don't I don't know, I've seen pink seersucker.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
heck
that
yeah.
um, well, it was fun. I was reading, like, years ago that, I think I was doing some research on something that pink actually used to be a masculine color in, like, the 17th century, so, like, boys would be put in pink, and then
Oh
it got flipped at some point.
yeah, I believe that. It's an interesting color in India, like you see it everywhere. I love it. I love that idea of the South that's super subtle in Simon, but
Mhm.
it's there, it's proper, and of course it was a color in the wedding, but nobody else had that.
Yeah, but it was this discussion about Simon, sorry, his character is Benton. It reminded me there's this he always whenever he's in the dining room, he never sits at the table. He always sits in a little side chair like he'll be eating his cereal.
True.
He's got like a little bowl of cereal or he'll have his cognac.
And it's
Uh he'll be sitting in that little corner, kind of like with his legs crossed, I believe. So
yeah, I remember that he fell in love with that house. Of course,
Hmm.
absorb everything, any artist, but and he asked for a hat. I was wearing a Stetson and he was like, "Do you
He
think
wore, yes. When did he wear that? I remember him wearing a hat only the one time though.
a few moments in the show,
Hmm.
right moments, because a gentleman always takes his hat off. And also, I don't want it to be a trendy choice. I want it to be an authentic gentleman's choice to have a
Hmm.
hat. And yeah, I remember that there's this veranda that he would stand on just to, I guess, think prior, to working. And he just looks so real standing on that little isolated private space. And I think that is Benton Wesley. He's someone, I mean, this is going back 1,000 years ago, but I worked my first kind of Southern story. There were two. There was Justified, which was about Kentucky, Appalachia.
I have never seen this show, but I've heard it's amazing. Which seasons did you work on?
I definitely did season one. Did I do season two? I can't remember. I think,
And that was with Walton Goggins
oh, heck yeah. Timothy Oliphant,
and Timothy Oliphant. I have to watch it because I've heard it's amazing.
most brilliant writing. But, it was my first kind of mirror to my life in Kentucky, something I ran from. And I have ancestors in Appalachia, but certainly Rectified, which was shot in Georgia, was written by the wonderful actor turned director, writer, best friend of Walton Goggins. Oh my God, Raymond Givens. Brilliant, and we're talking brilliant writing. And he said to me, I don't want the TV film version of the South. I want real, authentic Southern Gothic roots. And it really made me take pause
Hmm.
and look and examine everything that I had ran from in the South. Of course, mine is colored by Okinawa, right, in terms of visual, as family goes. But, at my heart, I am 100% both. So
Hmm.
I say I'm Southern and Okinawan, which makes no sense to many, except that Southerners really are always telling a story. And they're always telling a story in the round, like a song, like their voices, like their lilt and their dialect. And it's courteous to not go straight in to tell the story. Forever. Uh-oh.
Oh,
That,
did we lose you? Oh, we got you there.
I was like, it takes forever. So no, but Rectify had that same thing, and it really taught me to tell the truth in everything I do, but certainly out of respect for the South. Not the new South, not the glossy, version of the South, but the rootsy side of unabashedly not being ashamed of your accent or the way you were brought up to wear pink shirts in the
Hmm.
church. And certainly I tried to infuse Simon with some of that info. And what better time to do that? 2 years ago, I had to move in with my mother 2.5 hours away from Nashville, north to Kentucky. It really brought me back, and I used it for research. I'm surrounded by everything, including the house that I grew up in the South, to make Virginia in Scarpetta and Benton Wesley in Virginia, and even Lucy, Farinelli. There's the Farinelli.
Yes, I was looking it up. By the way, the inspiration was Marcella
Ella.
Farinelli Fiero. Marcella
Yeah,
or Marcella.
yes.
That's her. So was I was saying Maria, because I had read up on that it was based on a real female examiner
Who
from the
helped
South.
inspire the stories of Scarpetta.
Mhm, it's amazing, and I guess her and Patricia became friends, and it's
And
brilliant.
set out
Sorry, go
this.
ahead.
No, it's amazing, to think of Patricia doing this job and just saying, "Hey, what if I wrote about this?" And then look what happened. So many people engaged in this beautiful story called Scarpetta.
Um, I just want to ask you a few more things and then I'm going to let you go because I've kept you so long. I just want to ask a little bit about Lucy. I know you mentioned like you had a bit of a Chanel thing and also her, AI
Wow.
deceased wife, who we do get a flashback of her, however.
Yeah.
So, and the younger version of her is I love the younger version of her, by the way.
Uh,
I was trying to like, nail that. Like she's kind of like a 90s nerdy kid, like who obviously she's brilliant. She's made more money than the whole family, I gather, right? She's like,
yeah, funny, and she
yeah.
made at a very young age. Um, yeah, complicated person, right? And when we meet her, she's grieving. She is full on in grief. And so what was interesting was
There's a
to show
picture of her here with Bobby.
uh, I love their relationship,
Me too.
Bobby. We haven't talked about Bobby yet.
No.
We have a little, but Lucy is interesting because, here's someone who flies planes and drives fast cars and has lived a life of kind of doing whatever she wanted. She is this brilliant soul who's nurtured by her Aunt Kay because her mother is off and traveling, doing her own version of escaping grief. Really, everyone is trying to escape grief in the story. If you think about season one, that's kind of what happened. This family is so together, each one individually trying to resolve something in their lives, and then they all break apart, right? At the end, there's nothing standing except for Kay and this horrific thing that happens. And so for Lucy,
By the way, I was gonna say that's probably how I would react.
oh, it's that.
What Kay does.
Oh,
There was a case in Canada where, there was a break and enter, and, they determined that the person who, they basically beat up the individual who came into the house. They had a machete. And so they were like, okay, they used unreasonable force against this person who had broken in. And I said, yeah, but imagine being an individual, you're in the safety of your own home, and
right.
somebody comes in with a weapon and plans to do you harm.
Yeah.
We can't even imagine what would happen to us, how we would react.
No.
And it was like all of her trauma came out in that moment. By the way, there must have been so much, fake blood in the show.
Oh, so different colors, by the way. Yeah. And oh, look at that scene. It's and Rosie Pryor,
Yeah.
and who was the serial killer trying to kill her. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, we haven't
Which
even.
might I was thinking about the neck thing too
Oh,
because of the trauma she had to her neck, right? So I thought maybe that might be another reason why she covers up her neck.
on the serial killers. Uh,
Mhm.
but oh my God, so much to talk about. Lucy, I feel like Lucy is an incredible child because she was raised in the South by an aunt who worked all the time, right? A great role model, certainly also has a good relationship with her mother, but maybe some leftover angst because she was off trying to live a life, trying to find joy in a life full of chaos herself, Dorothy. For Lucy, she saw so much as a kid and probably saw a lot of discord in the family because of the trauma, generational trauma, right? It affects everybody. Certainly, it affects the grandmother. It's actually proven in a Japanese study. I just read this for myself this summer. I forgot what the book is called, but that as grandchildren, we actually carry the trauma, literally, physically, from our matriarchal grandmother. How about that?
Oh.
It's proven. And so, if you think on Lucy's origin story, she had a lot of freedom and a lot of trauma. And she's so smart from a young age that she had a lot of independence. Like, what does one do with someone so brilliant? You try to nurture it, and you try
Mhm.
not to abuse it, and then you try to give them a soft spot to land with family that you create, because they don't fit into that box of daughter, right? Or niece. And so I love her and Kay's relationship. And I love it that it's so freeing that she finds herself living there in the guest house, having her freedom, but yet not, still.
Mhm.
And in designing her, of course, you could just throw designer on her and stop there and say, okay, she has money. But what I wanted to do was find patterns in nature that looked like they were created by AI, that they were created by a computer version.
Oh, I love that.
So, like this Chanel-esque jacket, this designer
Yeah. Yeah, I've got it here again.
version of a pattern, you know, tiny. It's taken a little bit from Aunt Kay, and it's taking a little bit from Dorothy,
Mhm.
two women in her life. Ariana in real life was raised by two women. You know, she is a biracial woman raised by white women. Well, who better to play Lucy than someone who had that same story,
Yeah.
Ariana? And so that was already in place. That's her own life, and it's beautiful and true to her. What I did was try to find things that were beautiful and easy and authentic for someone who works at home. So the grief, that's the genes, and being a bit of a tomboy, and she likes to race cars and fly planes. But her mind, I think that people who live in the world of computers, and you may or may not see this in season two, they are affected visually by that. You know, think of great artists who are futurists. They see the world differently in terms of nature. It's not always like these trees with the leaves moving. Sometimes it's a video of that that's been morphed. And so I like that mind expansion for Lucy in terms of what she might grab as something to wear. However, she's grieving. That's the
Mhm.
status, the reality factor. And so people were laughing, like, why is she always in sweats and a cardigan? Well, she's at home. And
Yeah.
her best friend, her wife, is AI. She knows it. They've created this, well, the wife, Janet, created the program, but Lucy perfected it so that she wouldn't have to say goodbye. It's one of the most beautiful relationships. And is it disturbing? I don't know. It's how you feel, how the audience feels about AI.
Yeah, no, that's well, and because there are apparently cases of people who have AI partners. Um,
I don't know much about that.
yeah, I've read articles on it, and I was saying to my husband, like, well, in a way, though, isn't it of some comfort? Like, there's a really great, I don't know if it was like a Black Mirror episode where somebody had lost a partner, and then they end up having an AI partner. It's basically their loved one, and then they're able to make a body of that person, and then and then it kind of gets a bit weird after that. But
Yes.
this is a bit of futurism, right? There is some futurism in this, and probably it could eventually happen.
Oh, honey, it is.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy thing. Our phones cater to us. The
Mhm.
ads we see, I won't say which, music program plays music that it wants us to listen to, eventually making us make choices
Mhm.
that that sales can be made. I mean, we could say this about anything. People shopping on their phones. Why are we suddenly bombarded with green tops? I'm just throwing it out there. Because we looked for it once.
Oh, yeah. I was actually one time I was in my living room and I said something about, getting a hot tub and as a joke, and then suddenly, I don't know why I went on my phone and I started getting ads for hot tubs. I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, because Alexa's listening to you or what have you. So,
So
Um,
crazy. The notion is
yeah.
not everything is AI because I have my own, feelings about it, against it. However, everything is catered to have us walk a certain path
Hmm.
in terms of accumulating things, in terms of commerce and in terms of inspiration. Pinterest, use it all the time. It's, hey, you liked this. It's like the fake fragrance, right? You love,
Yes.
what wouldn't you like this version? What do they call it? The cheaper version of things. It's everywhere. And so what I do as an artist is jump in the deep end with it and try my best. I don't always succeed, but I try to become a Lucy. I try to become even a Janet,
Hmm.
become a Marino with that history of being an ex-cop and a best friend, a work husband to Kay, and someone who has this new marriage to a Dorothy, someone that no one saw coming into his life. And so, yeah, with everything, even if I don't understand it or I've never been there or I don't agree with it, I try to jump in all the way deep because it has to be real and it has to be believable for the audience. I don't want there to be a glitch moment where they're like, wouldn't happen. Now, some people might do that,
Hmm.
have a different idea from reading the novels and they saw it in a different way, but that's going to happen with the written word. There's no visual.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, even with casting or with, anything like people, I mean, because, you kind of create a picture in your head of what something is going to be. And then when it's put on the screen, you're like, oh, that's not how I imagined it. But then sometimes people are like, oh, that's not how I imagined it, but I kind of like the way that they went with this, right?
Hopefully, people are doing. I don't know.
Well, before I leave you, because I've kept you so long, oh my gosh, sorry. Because I just love talking to you so much, by the way, Anne.
It's easy with us. Yeah.
Yes, it's I just like I feel like we're having, we're just having a coffee or something and having this lovely conversation. Um, but I wanted to know, like, I was mentioning earlier about how with Simon's character that, they sort of were maybe like alluding to the fact that he might have been the killer. We weren't quite sure. I didn't think he was, but I thought, okay. So did you do any like red herrings or did you provide any clues along the way to sort of indicate maybe where, where the who the killer was or to throw us off a little bit? Did you do anything like that, or
Uh,
did Liz ask you to do anything like that?
the only thing that Liz and I were, she was quite clear about, and it's because her brain has probably written ahead, who knows how many seasons ahead, and she's connecting so many dots, was to make the serial killer types quite not anonymous.
Hmm.
If there were ever a kind of everyman serial killer, I may have learned how to create one on this show.
Yes.
I have certain real stories that I remember growing up because I really do love those stories. They terrify me, probably growing up in the middle of nowhere, right? Dark places where you could hide and things can happen. And certainly I have a love of Jack the Ripper. So does Patricia Cornwell. And she has a whole beautiful theory and book about that. Um, and I know, bless you, I know that many, not all, but so many caught serial killers tend to have a hatred of women and yet dress kind of feminine. And it's somehow all tied together mentally. And so
Hmm.
I always want to go crazy out of the love and I want the elevation of the serial killer if there can be one. Bless you, bless you.
Like Buffalo Bill, for instance, like who's like sort of an iconic serial killer in
And
Silence of the Lambs.
yes, and there are so many serial killers who would dress like their victims, would dress
Hmm.
maybe to try to understand them mentally. But so I have crazy behind the scenes photos of certain people who were playing serial killers and or copycat killers with quite not outlandish to me. They were like real studies of real moments in the lives of serial killers. And I love Liz for this because she pulls me back in such a beautiful way because she's thinking of future stories. And she's like, we don't really want to see, you know? So what I do is I play with the absence of light, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
A mental thing of going
Mhm.
into and almost you saw it in season one, in episode one. David Gordon Green, amazing guy, amazing visionary. He was playing with this attack of this one serial killer that I was designing. And we just saw flashes. And I think that's how the mind remembers trauma. It's in flashes. Like your brain is going one way and your eyes are closed, but you're peeking because you're terrified. That's how you see the lights and darks of the killers in Scarpetta to date. I don't know what's coming next, but I like to show textural moments um, that feel dangerous
Mhm.
in a black, darkened world where you can't quite see everything. And maybe that's by design, maybe that's vis a vis a tangled web of storytelling by Liz Sarnoff, edited by my brain and eyes, you know, but yeah, it's all on purpose. And sometimes, sweetheart, I don't even know who the killer is because she's
Oh, okay.
telling me everything, especially the last episode, which is
Mhm.
uh,
Did she hold back the last episode from everyone just so
yeah,
that Oh,
maybe
she did?
maybe you know, but it always comes later, and I love her brain is immense, Liz Sarnoff. Your brain is immense, and I love it that she doesn't give me everything. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, I've been really lucky throughout my career to work with these deep thinkers who are up to this crazy challenge individually.
Mhm.
And certainly Scarpetta is one of those moments too, for real.
And I wanted to ask you, first off, do you know how many seasons that Liz is thinking of doing? Is this all a big secret? No. So you know there's a second season.
I don't know. I mean, we're on season
There's
two.
lots of source material, obviously, though. Is it like 20 books? How many books are there?
I think there's more. Might be 30.
Wow.
My brain.
I
Sometimes
know
I,
some writers can write like 2 books a year, 2 or 3 books a year. I don't even know how that's even possible.
you know, yeah, the answer is nobody knows. I don't know.
Mhm.
We hope for more because it's like a perfect storm of actors, of talent. Liz, you know, it's beautiful to be back in Kentucky, Tennessee land for
Mhm.
reasons, but also it fuels my story here in terms of authenticity and the memories of the South. You know, sometimes you have to be in it to remember it fully. Um, I hope there's more. You know, I feel like certainly, yes, there is material, but also it's such a rare moment to have all these actors together that really do uphold each other. It's not like one, you know, has everything in the scene. It really is such a real, true ensemble cast. And there's so many journeys to go on because there are that many people whose stories, origin stories, we're following. And
Mhm.
that combined with the serial killerness of it all, like the dark stuff in our minds, it's also beautifully fulfilling, truly, for someone like me. You know, there's everything that you could have. And I mean,
But anyway, I wanna thank you so much for being here with me and everybody like Scarpetta, obviously the show all the episodes are out. We did talk about some of the spoilers, so hopefully if you're here with us till the end, you were already watching it.
so, and season two, y'all, it's really
Yes.
Good. I hope we come back and talk about season
I
2.
would love to. And hopefully we don't wait so long, Anne, because I just, oh my gosh, like, so thanks everyone for
Thank
being here with us. And thanks again, Anne, for being my guest as always. This is the second time, but it's been so amazing. I really appreciate you
thank
and a
you.
huge fan of you.
I'm a huge fan of you. I don't know how to